Welcome to another edition of Small Talk for You. This morning I wanted to point out a little interesting thing I ran across in ObjectStudio this morning when I was doing some work. Here I have a little dash delimited timestamp that I want to read in, and in ObjectStudio there's a convenient method in string called asTimestamp. If you're a VisualWorks developer, you know that you typically have to do timestamp read from, then string read stream. There's a nice convenient method. So you do this, and you do an inspect, and you'll get back what you expect, a timestamp. So that all looks good. And the way it's supposed to work is that if you have something that's not a timestamp, like the string ABC, I do an inspect on that, I should get back, if you look at the code, I'm going to get back nil. So that's all fine and good. Where it gets a little dicey, and where I looked at the code and found kind of interesting stuff there, let's take this last one, ABC1 as timestamp. So we'll go ahead and inspect that. And you notice what we get here is we get back a timestamp, but it's interesting, January 1st, year 0, midnight. Interesting result. And why is that? Well, you find that it goes and looks for any integers, and if it finds any integers in your string, it just assumes it can turn that sucker into a timestamp. This is what I'd call a bad assumption, but there it is. That's the code. It's probably been there in ObjectStudio forever. And if you hand it stuff like this, formatted in the way you'd normally expect, it's going to work fine. And if you hand it a string of all characters, it's going to give you back nil. Where you get into trouble is if you hand it anything alphanumeric that's not a timestamp, you're going to get some January 1st, year 0 nonsense coming back at you. So be aware of that. I ran across this because I was trying to do some simple conversions in a tool I'm writing, and I was going ahead and saying, well, let's try to turn it into a timestamp using asTimestamp. If it comes back with nil, I'll assume it's not a timestamp, and I'll just hand back that string. Instead, I was getting back nonsense timestamps, so my check wasn't as good as I thought it was. But in any case, this is something you might want to be aware of in ObjectStudio. This asTimestamp method works if you hand it stuff that looks like a timestamp, but if you hand it an arbitrary alphanumeric, it's going to give you back a weird answer. So, that's about it for today. Until next time, have fun with whatever small talk you're using.